Hello, Mr. Sutton here, bringing you the IM3 Honors 4-3 Part 2 homework solutions on the quadratic formula.
For this quadratic equation, one way we might start this is by getting everything over to the left side. Whether you're trying to factor or use quadratic formula, good things usually happen when you zero these things out. So I'll rewrite this as 1x squared minus 6x plus 11 equals 0. And let me just consider factoring this. I mean, why not? You've got 1x squared. So numbers that multiply to 11 but add up to negative 6. Well, we've got 1 and 11, and that's about it. So definitely can't factor this. We're going to quadratic formula. So we have an a value of 1, a b value of negative 6, and a c value of positive 11 since we put this in standard form. So here's our quadratic formula. Negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Like to write that each time I use it. So we've got negative 6 plus or minus square root of negative 6 squared. That's my b value being squared there. Minus 4 times the a value 1 times the c value 11 all over 2 times the a value of 1. Simplifying a little bit further, out here we've now got positive 6 plus or minus square root of 36. And this is going to be negative 4 times 11, so negative 44. So definitely going to get a negative inside there, looking for some imaginary answers, just kind of thinking ahead here. Down below we've got 2. So 36 minus 44, that's going to be negative 8. I can take out an I from that. I can also split this up into 4 and 2. Square root of 4 is 2, so we've got 6 plus or minus 2i, radical 2 over 2. And I can divide 6 and 2i both by 2 to get 3 plus or minus I, radical 2, for my final simplified answer. For this problem, if we want to solve for x, since we just have a 1x squared, we might consider factoring this thing. And it does turn out that you can factor it. Your magic numbers are going to be a 7 or a 13. You'll have to change the signs around a little bit, but you could factor it. But let's say you didn't think of that, and you just want to go into quadratic formula. Let's go through that solution. So quadratic formula, we have an a, b, and a c value. I'll just rewrite this so that everything's very clear what it is. So we have 1x squared. 1 is our a. Negative 6 is our b value, and negative 91 is the c value. And our formula, as always, negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, the quadratic formula. Let's go ahead and plug some things in now. So we've got negative b, so that's negative 6, plus or minus square root of negative 6 squared, with a little parentheses there, minus 4 times 1 times the c value, negative 91, all of that over 2 times 1. Simplifying a bit, negative 6 is positive 6. And then we have a negative 6 squared. That's 36 inside the radical. Still have that plus or minus there. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 91. Well, let me think. 4 times 90 is 360. So this would be 364 positive because we have 2 negatives there. And we have just 2 on the bottom. We can still simplify the 36 and the 364. That adds up to 400. Now, 400 is a perfect square. If you square root that, you will end up with 20. And we can simplify this a little further now. So I actually have 2 answers. I've got 6 plus 20 over 2. 6 plus 20 is 26. 26 divided by 2 is 13. We also have the solution from 6 minus 20 over 2. 6 minus 20 is negative 14. Divided by 2, that's negative 7. So those are our 2 answers. On number 5, before we can use quadratic formula, we have to put this in standard quadratic form. So we have to zero this out, subtract the 12x to get it over here. And when we do that, let's put the 12x between the 4x squared and the 13, like so that we're going in decreasing order of exponents, because we need that too for quadratic formula. All right, here's our quadratic formula. A value now is going to be 4. B value is negative 12. C value is 13. Plugging this in, we've got negative 12 plus or minus square root of negative 12 squared minus 4 times 4 times 13 all over 2 times 4. And now let's evaluate this a little bit further. So we've got positive 12 outside, plus or minus square root of 144, minus, well, let's see here, we've got 16 times 13. You could do that off to the side, or now let's see, 16 times 10 would be 160, 16 times 3 would be 48, 160 plus 48 adds up to 208 inside there, and then we have an 8 on the bottom. So now let's see, 144 minus 208, that's going to be negative 64. Square root of negative 64, we can take out an I and square root the 64. So that's going to come out to 8i. We're getting there. 12, 8, and 8 can all be reduced by a common factor of 4. So that would give us then 3 plus or minus 2i all over 2 for our final answer. For number 6, they want to know the solutions to 3x squared minus 33 equals 18x. Looking at our answer choices, we're probably going to have to use the quadratic formula on this one because we've got all these radicals. So let's go ahead and put this in standard form and get that process started. So we'll have 3x squared minus 18x minus 33 equals 0. Notice I put the 18x between here so that I'm going in decreasing order of exponents. And before I whip out the quadratic formula, one more thing we're going to do. You might notice that these terms are all divisible by 3, so I'm going to go ahead and divide everything by 3 just to make my life a little easier. That'll give me x squared minus 6x minus 11 equals 0. And just double checking quickly, there's nothing I can multiply to give me a negative 11 and add up to negative 6. So quadratic formula it is. Here we are. So we're going to have negative 6, that's our b value, plus or minus square root of negative 6 squared, minus 4 times the a value, which is an invisible 1, times our c value of negative 11, all over 2 times that invisible 1 for our a value. Let's simplify this now. So we've got positive 6 on the outside, plus or minus square root of 36, and this is going to be plus 44 all over 2. Well, that's 80 inside the square root. And we have to simplify the radical if we can. You'll notice there's no 80s anywhere here, but they did give you a major hint. You should end up with a 5 inside the radical once you've simplified this. 80 can be split up into 16 times 5. So this then would be 6 plus or minus 4 radical 5 all over 2. These three things, 6, 4, and 2, those are all divisible by 2. So we could reduce this then to 3 plus or minus 2 radical 5, which is going to give us choice A.